So now we are on to one of the most important things, and to be honest, the most commonly asked question is, okay, right, you've got all this set up and sorted out. Now, how do you go about winning your first client? To be honest, there is no easy answer. There is no one track and you go, you do this and you will win a first client. So in this lesson, I'm going to go through a few different ideas, some of which I've done, some of which I have got ideas from different people about how they have achieved their first clients, and to go from there. With all of this though, it is really important to bear in mind that because this is early stages, if I'm honest, any work that comes along that seems reasonable, you should probably take. When you're more established, it's a lot easier and you feel a lot more confident about being a bit more selective about who it is you're working with. But subsequently, you're going to almost need the experience from a digital marketing perspective. You're going to need the experience from running a business. Eventually, you might just need the money as well. So taking on smaller clients, these early day clients might not be the people you want to work with, but they are going to provide very invaluable experience in terms of how to do things going forwards. So first things first is if you want to get your first clients, shout about it on social media. Say you were going freelance, and generally that has enough of a kick in terms of a couple of people going, oh, that's interesting, I'll see and contact them about whatever it is that they might need. Secondly, and we've kind of covered it already, but it's making sure that you were telling your friends, you were telling your family, and you were telling your colleagues that you have gone freelance. Just because you told them a few weeks ago, you'd be surprised at the number of people who forget, and it's worth reminding them whether they need work themselves or that they can recommend other people onto you. Number 3 is weirdly asking other freelancers if they have any work. Now, this is more of a long-term tactic. Now, it can actually be really useful to build up relationships with other freelancers in the industries that you're trying to operate in, whether that is geographical or whether that is in a specific sector. Now, one of the easiest ways you can do it is to message them and go, hi, I've recently gone freelance. I'm looking for some advice. Now, from that stage, you can open it up as a question if you have a specific question which you feel they might be able to answer. Or one of the easiest things which I've done in the past is, do you know any good events or conferences that I should be going to for this industry? Now, they're not immediately going to reply and go, oh, by the way, I've got some work for you. But it opens up that relationship and conversation. You'll know there'll be a lot that you can relate to because you're both in the freelancing world. And if you can establish those relationships, subsequently, there's a lot of leads that get passed around between freelancers when other freelancers can't take work on for whatever reason. So that can subsequently help to open up new work as well. Next on the list is essentially cold calling, but there's a bit of context behind this. Now, with digital marketing, one of the great assets about this is that subsequently you can find out clients' problems without them really needing to tell you. So if you were looking at SEO, for example, you can identify issues with their websites. If you're looking at PPC, for example, you can do a lot of clicking around and find that, for instance, the ads that they are running aren't sending people to the right pages. And that provides you with a bit of ammunition. What you want to do is take whatever that problem is and find the most relevant person that is worth sending that message to. This isn't ever a case of sending whatever you find to the contact at or info at email address. It's trying to find potentially that person on LinkedIn and trying to DM them about it. You have to be fairly careful with this, and subsequently sometimes it doesn't work. But for me and with other people I've worked with, actually, if you can engage someone in that conversation and be like, well, actually, I've identified a bit of a problem. It'd be great if I could send you the details over about it, can demonstrate your expertise, and you never know, that can be the right time which actually someone is thinking about changing who it is that their Google Ads are managed with, and subsequently bring in more work that way. Also, you've got social media listening. Just because you are shouting on social media that you're now freelance, that's not to say that you can't take more of a passive view and keep a lookout for other people which are looking for recommendations for freelancers in whatever industry that you have decided that you want to focus on. In terms of how to do this, the easiest channels to focus are on Twitter and LinkedIn. LinkedIn on the whole seems to be a bit more successful, but you can search for keywords on both. Now, that is a case of putting in whatever tactic you might be working on, literally like SEO, for example, and just seeing what comes out. Particularly on both channels, you'll find that people are looking actively for recommendations. If you can be one of the people that responds to them, then great, that can get your foot in the door for a new job. Particularly on LinkedIn, I've won a lot of work like that. Now, you've also got networking and events. Now, I'm not a big fan of traditional networking. It's too much of getting up early and very formalized, sort of handing over business cards. but it has led to work in the past when I have done it. But the other thing that, you know, pretty much exists in every city are meetups of various different degrees. If we're talking about the UK, there are digital marketing meetups across pretty much every major town and city in the country. So they are things that you can get along to. It's great to meet with other fellow freelancers, and particularly other fellow people who are in the world of digital marketing. And those people who are in digital marketing are going to come from all different roles. Some of them might be business owners themselves, some of them might work from agencies, and some of them might be freelancers. And either way, building those relationships and getting in front of those people where essentially they don't need to see your expertise, they just need to see your personality, can be a really great advantage in terms of getting those first pieces of work. In a similar vein, you've also got training days and conferences. At this early stage, there's going to be a load for you to learn from an actual practical digital marketing perspective. And even when you are more established, there's always stuff that you need to keep on top of. Now, there's various events run everywhere about specific aspects of running a business or specific aspects of digital marketing, or, you know, big conferences which kind of cover both. But by attending those events, again, you're getting in front of very similar people as you would on those networking events and meetup sessions, where subsequently, you know, show your personality, and that might create the conversation which is the right thing for you to do to be able to get your first pieces of work. So much of this depends on, you know, presenting yourself and seeing that you are a nice person rather than your actual skill set. So it does mean you do have to put yourself out there, and, you know, I've been in this position myself. It is an uncomfortable process, especially someone who's more reserved and shy. But, you know, once you get talking to someone on a one-to-one level, especially something you're going to be passionate and interested about, can, you know, really open doors for you. Now, depending on where you are in the world, you can also invest in running your own event. You know, that doesn't need to be something that's really flashy. It can just be, I'm going to hire a room in a pub and have an evening where we're going to do some talks, for example. Now, depending on who it is you want to get in front of, that could be a purely digital event, that could be something which is physical and offline. Again, it all relates back to your audience, but that offers you a platform to, first of all, meet other people, and again, to really demonstrate your expertise. Now, how you do that, whether it is a formal workshop, whether that is kind of like a surgery where you look at individual client problems, again, it means more eyes on you as a way of offering your services. You've also got co-working spaces. Again, I put a link to a co-working directory for places across the world. Almost every time I've been into a co-working space, you say, oh, I do digital marketing. Subsequently, someone else will say, oh, I know someone who needs ... And that is a very easy way. It's also just a very beneficial thing to work in a co-working space as opposed to working from home, but we'll come on to that later. So again, it's getting in front of people. In terms of getting in front of people, that doesn't have to be always on a physical basis in real life. I've managed to build up a really good series of relationships with various different people in various different aspects of digital marketing, not even in this country, but across the world, from essentially hanging out on social media and hanging out in the ecosystems of the places that I want to be. In this instance, Twitter has been incredibly valuable at understanding the conversations about what is going on in an industry, but also being able to get in front of other freelancers, other businesses, other marketing types who work in businesses, as a way of winning more work as well. So don't just feel that you're limited to the people that are within your, you know, your town or city, wherever you live. Now, the final thing that you can do is actually put your digital marketing skills to good use. Depending on who it is you want to get in front of, and obviously what services you want to offer. You know, use those digital marketing aspects you've learned and promote yourself. So if you are focusing on SEO, try and get bits of content to rank so that you can bring in traffic. If you're focusing on more of a paid ad option, set up ads on Instagram and Facebook so that you can get in front of targeted people who might be interested in your services. It's a really good validation as a way of showing, you know, the client that you can actually do the thing that you say you can do, and it can potentially tap into a huge number of different people that you wouldn't be able to interact with on a one-to-one level previously. Now, obviously there is an upfront cost, particularly on a paid ad front, and if nothing else, it does take time and energy to put together. But with all of this, it is all an investment because you never know where different conversations are going to lead. For me personally, one of the best instances of this was about 1.5 years ago. I saw a post from a major charity in the UK saying that they were looking for freelancers on a social media basis. So to give you a really good example of this, about 1.5 years ago, a major charity put out a LinkedIn post saying that they were looking for freelancers on a social media capacity. I answered that message and subsequently got the job, which was great. But the most important point from that was that when I was doing the job, I was introduced to other freelancers. One of those freelancers introduced me to someone else who offered me more work. And then off the back of that, they introduced me to other people who actually introduced me to other people. So off the back of one LinkedIn message, which I just saw and thought, you know, what the hey, I'll try and apply for it. That has opened up a huge amount of opportunities for me, which I never would have anticipated. So you never, ever know where these conversations are going to lead. But by putting yourself out there in front of an online audience and a physical, real world audience, you know, the more people you speak to, the more work you're potentially going to win. So try those different options. Think about which ones you most like to approach first and go ahead and do them and see what it results in.